is 6:30 in the morning, and there are owls going crazy out there. But the reason I'm out here this morning is because if you can look through the trees there a little bit, you can see a mountain off in the distance. So that mountain back there is the base of it is on our property, or part of the base of it is on our property. And the income idea that I'm going to share with you today has its roots in a story on that mountain right over there. And so you'll have to bear with me as I tell the story, and then as soon as we get kind of through that story, then I'm going to explain to you the connection between the two. And I think you're going to enjoy it. You're just going to have to stick with me to the end of it, because it has to do with, believe it or not, of all things, Spanish gold, and it's actually documented if you Googled it, the story on this thing. Hey everyone, this is Martin, and I am continuing the video series of creating sustainable income. And today I'm going to use an example of a source of income that I'm going to explain by example. Okay, so this is going to be kind of fun. If you could hit the subscribe button, the notification bell. I'm not trying to sell you anything, so don't worry about that. But I do want to illustrate how this one works, because it's a fascinating income source, and so I'm going to start by telling a story, okay? And this is a little bit of local history, and you're going to ask yourself throughout the story, what does this have to do with making money? And trust me, it's all going to come together. You're going to understand it when I'm done. So the first half of this is going to be a little bit of a history lesson and a story, and then I'm going to tell you how that relates to creating some income. Early this morning, I came out on the back deck and I tried to film the mountain that's kind of in our backyard, and I'm going to point this up there. I don't know if you can see it or not. It's the trees are starting to come out, but it's over there, and that mountain actually ends on our property. Okay, so, and I'm going to walk down there right now, and that mountain, I didn't know this before we bought this place. I found out afterwards. I found out by a rumor, and then I Googled it to confirm that you know, there's actually some truth to this. It's a legend, kind of an urban legend, maybe. And by the way, we're crossing over into Bigfoot country. I've got this marked as a Bigfoot crossing down here. So haven't seen one yet, but I'm hoping. Anyway, so I'm not telling you where the name of the mountain. I'm not going to tell you where it's located. It's one of the named mountains in this county that we're in, and we are in southwest Missouri, and that's close enough. The last time a video like this got out was up by our cabin and campsite rental place, and they had done a video on some abandoned buildings that were up there not too far from us, and it was like a subdivision that had failed, and they had, I suppose, about 20 or so of these massive condo type houses built up there, and they were all built like castles, okay? And the whole thing went bankrupt, and they sat there for a long time, and someone came out and done a video of those, and they referred to them as haunted castles. Now, actually, they were abandoned. They looked like castles, so, you know, you could call them castles, I guess. By the way, right now I'm crossing over the stream, so everything on the one side of the stream is part of our mountain. Everything on the other side is the mountain that goes up the other side over here. And right now there's no water in it. But I walked down through here the other day when there was water coming through here. It was after a rain. And so you'll see kind of what this is like down here when it's wet and rainy. But as soon as that video hit the market, or hit the video channel, YouTube, we were completely inundated with people coming to see the haunted castles. And I mean, they were parking on our place, and they were parking all over the place down there in everybody's land, and going in and at nighttime touring these buildings without permission or anything like that. They were actually trespassing. And but they were coming down there by the thousands. They were parking all over our place, parking all over other places. The police had to finally come out there and post guards out there at night because so many people were coming out there. And so I would call this the story on this. Oh, by the way, we are actually on the mountain right now. Okay, so as soon as we crossed over that little stream there, a little dry stream. We're on the foothill of that mountain. And so anyway, this can get out of hand if you're not careful. So anyway, the story is on this. I'd heard this rumor, and what it is that there was a legend of Spanish gold that had been buried in a cave on this mountain someplace. And the, you know, how they would ever know that, I don't know. But I mean, I Googled it, and sure enough, I mean, the story is there. And do I believe there's gold on this mountain? Not really, but nevertheless, the legend is there. Okay, and so right now, as I stand on this mountain, you know, and there's caves galore all over the place down here. And so, yeah, do I want to take time to go look for Spanish gold in a mountain down here in southwest Missouri? No, I don't think I'm going to have time to do that. And actually, I don't know that I believe that there's any down here. But to add a little bit of credibility to that kind of a story, there is something that's much more well documented down here in southwest Missouri, and that's the history of a vigilante group that was established near the end of the Civil War. And they called themselves the Bald Knobbers. And if you get into southwest Missouri down here in the Branson area, you end up finding that there's a lot of history and stories about the real live Bald Knobbers. And there's a lot of modern day things that reflect that. And the Bald Knobbers were a group of, like I say, vigilantes. There is very lawless around here right after the Civil War. And so they banded together to create some kind of law and order. And they gradually turned into an outlaw band of people that roamed and pillaged the area around here. And they did robbing of stagecoaches and banks and things like that. And they did have gold, and they did hide it in caves down here. And that's where they would store their gold. And gradually the Bald Knobber group was all captured, brought to justice. In fact, where we lived down here when we first moved here about 30 years ago was in Ozark, which is up in Christian County. And there's a big plaque on the courthouse lawn out there commemorating where the last 3 Bald Knobbers were executed or hanged for their crimes, right there on the city square there in Ozark. And so that brought an end to the Bald Knobbers group. But down here in this area is where they rampaged around, and they, like I say, they had gold, stored things in caves and things like that. So there's still rumors of Bald Knobber gold hidden in caves, you know, around here in these few counties down here that border Arkansas. And so there's that story. And the reason I'm telling you all of this story is so you can't interact with me because we're on a video. You can put messages or comments down in the comment section below. You know, if you have interest in that story or that history. But the point I'm trying to make is that it's an interesting story. And we have friends that used to have the carriage company, the horse-drawn carriage company down in Hot Springs, Arkansas. And they have stories like that down there in Hot Springs about Al Capone that would come down there and stay in Hot Springs on vacation. And he found out there was a water bottling company that would bottle mineral water there in Hot Springs and ship it to Chicago. And the story is there, and this is documented as well, that he would buy bootleg whiskey that was being made down in Hot Springs and bottle it in these, I'm not going to tell you the name of the company of the water bottles because they're still in existence down there. And, but they would ship bootleg whiskey back to Chicago during Prohibition in these water jugs or water containers by rail, and to kind of camouflage the fact that they were moving alcohol. And we have, we lived in an area somewhere some of our first recreation properties were down here in a little town called Rockaway Beach, which is off to the east here a ways. And they have a legend of a place down there where Al Capone used to come and hide out there because it was a kind of a resort community back in the turn of the century. And so there's a story there to tell. And everybody that came in to wanted to rent boats, they wanted to know where Al Capone's cabin was, because there was a place that everybody recognized as Al Capone's cabin down there on the lake shore. And everybody always wanted to know where that was at so they could see it and take pictures of it when they drove by. And so that was that. And then, but also in that, and that's a tough one to document, but in that town, the easy things to document in that town are the things like Bob Barker used to live and work there while he was younger at one of the hotels there in that town. And the host of The Price is Right from, a few years ago. So there's that story. And then also in that town was a beautiful mansion that was built overlooking the lake. And it's also well documented that Harry Truman would come down there and stay and spend weekends down there. And there's pictures on the walls in that cabin of him playing cards with a bunch of his entourage. Okay, so there's a lot of that. And by the way, I stopped down here at a place where you can see, I mean, we've got kind of cave sort of stuff down here. Okay, so could they have hidden gold in some of these caves? Who knows? So I told you that story to give you an example of one of the most fascinating income producing systems or techniques that I've run across in years. And it has to do with, it's called virtual or online experiences. And getting back here in the woods, it's dark now. So virtual and online experiences is a thing that Airbnb, of all people, and you mostly think of them as lodging, rental related for like vacation lodging, and it is. But they also, back during the pandemic, was trying to figure out ways to boost their income or their patronage, I guess, by finding other ways to sell experiences or to sell something that, I'm going to put this off for just a second until I get set down here. Back during the pandemic, Airbnb was desperately trying to figure out ways to continue to create business, because all of the shutdowns of business and travel and all of that was happening. And so they were seeing some pretty tough times ahead in their future. So they came up with a brilliant idea, I thought. And it has to do with creating a way to have people still be able to book experiences in other places without actually having to leave their home. So they came up with this idea of online experiences, and anybody can host them. If you have something interesting, like I just now did a tour of Spanish gold hidden on our mountain down here in southwest Missouri, and told about a couple other places like that. And that's one example of what people will do. If you go on to the Airbnb online experiences, they will have lists, mile-long lists of things that you can participate in all over the world right from your home by virtue of an online experience. And so all you really have to do is have a video camera, something that you can do, that you can go live with so you can interact with guests. And the idea is, if you've got something interesting, a story to tell, and there's places that do tours of like the streets of Venice, there's experiencing cuisine in Rome and all of this kind of stuff. There's just no end to it. Visit my farm in Australia and see kangaroos in the wild, and they'll take you out there with video cameras and do a live feed and interact with you as they show you all of these things that are around there. And I came up with my tour here of our mountain because there's a lot of them that will do walking tours of interesting places, and they'll do ghost tours. Down in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, which is just south here a little ways, at the Crescent Hotel, they do ghost tours down there, and they do not do them in a virtual way. You have to go there and do them live. But there's places all over the world that will do ghost tours of castles and different kind of places where the paranormal things are, they describe that. And so really, if you have an interesting enough story or an interesting enough activity that you do on your place, there's people that do beekeeping, and they'll invite you to go on a tour with them through the processing of keeping the bees and processing the honey and collecting the honey and all of that kind of thing. And people will pay to go through that, and they register online through Airbnb, just like you would register a vacation home through Airbnb. And then at a specific time, you log in and you're connected with another part of the world that's doing something interesting that you want to take part in. And you might think on the surface level, who would do that kind of stuff? And literally there's tens of thousands of these virtual online experiences that are hosted right through Airbnb. And they're literally almost anything. Cooking shows is a big one. There's one of my favorites I've mentioned on other videos is the Cooking with Italian Grandmas. And where a lady goes through Italy and just meets with elderly women over there that have been cooking their entire lives for their big Italian families, and so she will do segments on how to cook specific dishes with real live people in their homes and in their kitchens, and make that a online experience through Airbnb, through their online experience program. And so how to get those things started is that you begin with, first of all, you have to come up with an idea for an experience. And I mean, if you go on there and look at them, you'll see there's just no end to the ideas that people are having that are doing out there. And online virtual scavenger hunts is a big one. Mystery escape rooms. There's all kinds of things on there that they do. If you're clever enough to come up with, or if you're fortunate enough to live in an area that has some rich local history to it, or some urban legends to it, okay, then you have something that potentially could qualify for an online experience. And they charge anywhere from, $20 or so per person to participate in these, up to, some of them are like several $100s. And those are more personal one-on-one type of experiences, like music lessons or art lessons or something like that. But nevertheless, there's all kinds of things that you can do that that would qualify for these online experiences. You have to screen it through Airbnb and be approved. I mean, they want to have appropriate things, and they want to have something that represents some kind of a quality experience. So they do approve them. But when they do, you provide them with pictures, videos, descriptions, pricing, dates and times available, and things like that. And then they will put all of that up onto their platform, onto their page, and people can book those things from all over the place. Now, you may think for a second that, well, I don't know if there's really any money in that or not. And I'm going to tell you about the one that at the time when I first looked this up, I was doing a lot of research on there, and I thought, well, how much money are some of these people making? And obviously, I mean, if it's a kind of a basic bland experience, knock myself off the rock here. I might fall off the cliff that's over there. But if you take kind of a basic experience, it may not amount to a lot. But there's one in particular, I wanted to know what's the potential on here. And there's one in particular where it was a group of people that created a stage show. Okay, so they did a stage show, and the people that participated in this were coming in as the audience, and so they could handle a lot more people with their presentation, and because it was funny, and I never did sign up and watch it or anything like that, but I mean, it had great reviews. It was funny, and well, that was mainly it. It was a comedy kind of a thing, and they were good enough at it that group of people, that small group of people that put that on, they were collecting over $80,000, it was like $82,000 every month from that presentation, and they had hundreds and thousands of participants in it every single week. So I mean, it was a big thing for them. So there's some big potential there, but you have to, the more creative, the more interesting, the more unique that it is, the better it is. And so you set your price, you figure out. Wow, did you hear that? Oh, it's a bird. Okay. Anyway, you come up with your gig, you come up with the pricing on it, when you want to do it, how you want to do it, and all of that. Get it approved through them. They put it online, and then you're on available instantly to start doing these things. And it's one of my favorite concepts. We have not done this ourselves. I tried to create a little bit of a walking tour of the Spanish gold and the Baldnobber gold on our mountain over here, to give you an idea of what's that like. So if you felt yourself drawn into that, and I'm not even really good at it, haven't practiced at it, okay, but if you felt yourself kind of drawn into that, then that's the kind of thing that you'd be looking for. And I have thought about possibly doing that. I thought about doing treehouse tours, because we have like a dozen or more tree houses up here at our campground site that are very interesting to people, and people love to get tours of them. I've got videos of them out there, but I could do a personalized online tour where I interact with guests, answer the questions, tell about how we build them, tell about how we fall off of them, and all of that kind of stuff, and turn that into one of those type of presentations. We haven't done that yet. Whether I have time to do that or not, I don't know. But if I wanted to, I would go right to that and start turning that into an income stream. So anyway, I hope this one was at least a little bit entertaining. It's worth checking into especially if you've got something interesting that you can display for people, or talk about with people, or walk them through, or demonstrate or teach. You really can use that platform to turn it into an ongoing source of income for yourself, and kind of a fun one too, in my opinion. Anyway, so that's the story. Online experiences through Airbnb. And if you could, hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, and we'll see you next time. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a like and a share, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below and the notification bell. See you next time.